are now tuned in to my main man Dubs. If you want that garbage, go somewhere else. If you want that music that matters, he came to the right spot.
What up, kid?
Hey Dub, talk to him.
This is not for the weak-hearted. Ever since the beat started, the flow switched up from...
What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Gennady Golovkin. Of course, by now you guys know Golovkin has decided to leave Big Bear, which the high altitude levels, and join Victor Conte with the Snac program. Now, a lot of people have joined Snac, Mikey Garcia, Julian Williams, and it is seemed to do wonders for them. Now, as far as Gennady Golovkin, you know, he's getting up there in age. He's 37 years old, you know, and he's starting to make these changes. The question you ask yourself is he making these changes because he's getting old, or is he making these changes because he feels that he needs to change something? You know, he parted ways with Abel Sanchez. Now he's with Jonathan Banks. He had a real tough fight with Deverenchenko not too long ago, you know, and it's crazy because that was the first time I ever saw Golovkin look the way he looked in any fight. I've seen him in rough, tough fights, you know, like Endom was a pretty tough fight back in the day before he was really known. Of course, the Canelo fights were pretty good, but then I've never seen him hurt like he was in these fights alone. You know, and of course we know that he's looking to fight maybe his mandatory at the end of March. And the fighter that he's fighting, now that's what I want to talk to you guys about. Sure, I know that he's I don't want to murder his name, but I don't see that actually being a worthy opponent for Golovkin. I know Golovkin's 37 years old, and a lot of times fighters, they pick these fights. Oh, he's a mandatory. Well, Golovkin's had a lot of mandatories that he did not take. He did not take the IBF mandatory Deverenchenko, which, ironically, that was one of the toughest fights that I've seen him in, ever. And he didn't take that fight when he could have taken that fight. And the question you ask yourself is, what if he would have took the Deverenchenko fight a year earlier? Or what was that, a year and a half earlier? What would have been the same outcome? And what I'm noticing is him being 37 years of age, him making all these drastic changes to his workout regimen. Maybe he needs that for a boost. Maybe it's a psychological thing where he feels that I need to feel a lot younger. Maybe the old age is catching up to him. I remember a couple years ago, back in 2018, I predicted that Golovkin should retire. There's nothing else Golovkin has to do, honestly. He can sit around and follow Canelo until Canelo finally gives him another fight. By that time, what do you think will happen? Honestly, what do you really think will happen if Golovkin fights Canelo at the end of this year or early next year? He'll be 38 years of age, maybe 39, because I don't even know when Golovkin's birthday is. It might be earlier in the year. Okay? But then you get beat up. You're joining a guy that has a reputation, you know, from the Balco scandal, you know, years ago. But of course, you know, so did Memo Heredia, and he's doing just fine because Juan Manuel Marquez decided to get with him. And that's coincidentally the time he got with Memo Heredia, Angel Memo Heredia, where he knocked out Manny Pacquiao. Okay, and everybody was like, nah, he's on something. But a lot of times that people are getting a lot of stigma, but, you know, of course, Demetrius Andrade, Mikey Garcia, Devin Haney, all these guys are a part of Snac. So if he's cheating or he's picking him to cheat, that means all of them are cheating. So we can counterpunch that and nip that in the bud right now. The only problem I have with Golovkin at this point, the guys that he should be fighting, like Charlo, like Andrade, like a lot of these guys that he should be fighting them right now while he still has it, he's not. So the mandatory stuff, like, oh, he's fighting his mandatory. There's a lot of mandatories that he overlooked. Let's be real. You know, and fighting his mandatory now, it just seems too convenient. You know, he might look good. Maybe the whole idea, oh, fight your mandatory so you can fight a guy nobody ever heard of, beat this guy, look good. So yeah, it gives people the perception that you're back or you've done something that really changed and pushed back the hands of time and made you look like, hey, man, he's new and improved. Even though he's 37, man, he came out of the mountains and started the Snac program and he's kicking ass and he's looking great and the knockout was sensational. Look, if you're fighting guys like Steve Rose, Vanis Matarosian, guys lower tier, no disrespect to any of those fighters. However, if you're fighting guys like that with Triple G, he's going to get you out of there anyway. It's going to always give you the perception that Triple G is back and or Triple G is a knockout artist. But when he rises in competition, did he do that to Deverenchenko? No. Did he do that Canelo both times? No. Did he do that to Danny Jacobs? He knocked him down once, but no. It's still a close fight. Okay? So that's how I feel about Gennady Golovkin right now. He's 37 years old. He's wasting his time fighting nobodies. If he's going to spend time fighting nobodies, retire. Because if I'm Canelo, I wouldn't give Golovkin another rematch because Golovkin hasn't, even though I think he won. Why, if you feel you won, why are you hell-bent on fighting the same people with the same politics? Make that make sense. If you feel you beat him the first fight, which I feel he beat him the first fight, the second fight could have been a draw because it was close. It was closer. Okay? But they gave that to Canelo. Okay, move the fuck on. Don't use that as an excuse to wreck your career. Because people, if he's not ducking other fighters, that's what it comes off him doing. Avoiding other fighters to either look for that payday that he's probably got accustomed to getting now by chasing Canelo all around creation, trying to get another fight, signing with DAZN just to get a fight with Canelo to find out it might not even be there. Because Canelo can do whatever Canelo wants to do. Obviously by now. But looking at Golovkin, he needs to focus on his own career without Canelo. And honestly, I don't even think the second fight should have happened. Honestly, if I'd have knew it would have made Golovkin or tempted Golovkin to be this type of fighter, despite everything that he'd been through with fighters ducking him back when everybody was avoiding him, Billy Joe Saunders, Chris Eubank, David Lemieux, and he fought Lemieux, other fighters like that, when he couldn't get Sergio Martinez, right? He couldn't get that Miguel Cotto fight. He couldn't get into these fights, and then everybody was pressuring Canelo to fight him. All this time, he's been saying, I know I wants to fight me. Hey, guys, none of that shit. Now, everyone wants to fight you. You've had mandatories that you've overlooked. All of a sudden, now you want another mandatory. You pick Steve Rose over Andrade, over Charlo. Come on, man. Make that make sense. He can't. And if I'm Gennady Golovkin, fight your fights with all these guys. Make these guys fight you. Or it's not even make these guys fight you. Fight these fucking guys that you need to be fighting to fulfill the rest of your career. If he feels that what's going to fulfill his career is another fight with Canelo Alvarez, please retire. Because Golovkin, okay, you've been beat. You've got a draw. Now you want a third fight. Look, your whole career does not rely on one person. And if it does, that's sad. That's my counterpunch on Gennady Golovkin. You guys tell me what you think. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.